OC Transpo itself, it's been called all manner of names in the national and provincial media. Problem-plagued, a colossal LRT disaster. Even Premier Ford called it a real disaster too. You must have been aware of that reputation. I'm wondering if it colored how you came into the job and ever made you hesitate about accepting it.
No, I never hesitated taking this job. You know, I spent a lot of time reading about OC Transpo. If, you know, you look in the media at any of the organizations that I've worked in, there's always, nobody goes unscathed, right? I'll just say, put it that term, right? When I look at what's happening here is no different than it's happened in Boston and Toronto with the light rail vehicles, right? We all in our industry have a lot of discussions with each other, right? Share our challenges, help each other. So coming here, I thought it was a great opportunity. I'd had experiences in light rail vehicles before. Some of the challenges, you know, Ottawa is not unique when it comes to cities with major transit systems. So I'm very thrilled to be here. I'm honored to be here in this position.
How do you feel about the job that the previous leadership did, their priorities, their decision making? I don't so much mean Troy, but even before that, is there anything that you would have done differently?
No, you know, they've set me up for success is the way I'm looking at it. You know, working with the committee and with the council to get the funding to get the buses, that's fabulous. You know, working on preparing and getting the O train up and running earlier last year, right? That's fabulous. You know, you do what you do in the time that you're sitting in the seat, right? And so I appreciate what they've done to set me up today. And I just bring my background, my knowledge, my experience, you know, do some tweaking and you know, you saw it today in the 10-point action plan after 30 days.
Your 10-point plan relies in part on the LRT upload going through. What if it doesn't happen?
Well, you know, I can tell you that there's positive intent going into this talking about upload. I was part of negotiations on the upload in Toronto, if you recall, back in 2018. And so for me, the decision has been made to upload. We're going to upload. You know, now it takes time. There'll be a lot of discussions. They talked about the $85 million that we'll be able to reallocate. Everyone's very serious about this.
If the LRT upload does happen, like,
yep.
Do you expect it to be a rocky transition? Will there be growing pains as these two agencies learn to work together?
No. You know, we'll work together. You know, again, a lot of it, the detail has to be worked out with the province. But no, you know, I've said it before. I'm not sure I said it to you, but you know, the president of CEO of Metrolinx is a friend of mine, right? We work well together, right? It's all about relationships in life, to be honest with you.
You've talked a lot about telling the story, that trying to get people to understand that there is a foundation and that the glass is half full. Should I take from that you view this in part or even largely as a public relations job, as your job being about communications, or are you here to bring real changes to the way that OC Transpo is run?
I think you're going to see real changes for the way OC Transpo does their job. You know, and I'll tell you, it's a little of both, because I'm very fond of this organization and the people that work here, and I think they need somebody to be their spokesperson, right? Because I want to build the culture in this organization. They deserve, you know, to be looked at in a much higher regard than I think. And you know, I've read the media over the course of the last few years, right? And they take that personally, right? Being hit hard, right? Because they do work hard. So I'm going to be the spokesperson for them. I'm going to brag about them.
It sounds like you're very confident that we are going to have a return to full service on the LRT by mid-June. But are you confident that that will continue to work? That before we get to the root cause, that before we have a permanent solution, that it's not just going to happen again?
Yeah, no, I'm confident. Again, having seen these type of issues elsewhere, we're always going to be dealing with issues when it comes to vehicles, right? We'll always will. There'll always be in a redesign of a new widget, right, to go on a vehicle to make it more reliable and stronger, right, over the next 30 years. That's what I'm used to doing. And so for me, you know, will there be an uh-oh moment along the way? Possibly, very likely, right? But I'm just going to be as transparent as possible